ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
You got it.
I have to tell you, I spent an hour looking for them. You would be so proud.
You guys come here and look at us for that.
Yes, ma'am. We'll
I
do.
figure by the time my term's out, I'll finally know how to use it.
It's like all my debt. It'll be paid off 2 days after I'm dead.
Come on. Causing a ruckus. Causing a ruckus.
Me too. Me too. There will be a party had, I guess.
What's up, big dog?
Drop.
And you know, living the dream, man. I wake up every morning. I think to myself, what would Orlando Holland do?
How you doing?
Oh yeah, I just heard the same thing. Like, don't lean back. I'm like,
Did he tell you?
Yeah.
He tell you lean into the microphone too?
Yeah.
They mean it.
Speaker to the mic.
Oh Lord.
We got you, baby. We got you.
Crazy.
Where's your promotion?
council. Want to welcome everybody here. If you will rise for the invocation, I'm going to invite up Pastor Jeff James to offer tonight.
Well, thank you for the blessing to be able to pray for our city. As my dear brother and friend, Pastor Isaac Ross says, a city that prays together stays together. And let's stand together for Seaford. Lord, you are the God of the city. You are the light in the darkness. You are the hope to the hopeless, and you are the peace to the restless. And so, Lord, we pray for your wisdom and guidance, for your blessing for our city and for our leadership that we give you praise and thanks for. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jeff. Please remain standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. I am going to ask council something tonight. We've had some comments from people who are watching online that they're having difficulty sometimes hearing our volume, so I'm going to ask that all of us try to speak as close to our mics as possible so they can hear. Thank you. Okay, do we have any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, you've all received the minutes from our October 10th meeting. If there are no changes or suggestions, I'll accept the motion to receive those minutes.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
All right, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay. Do we have anybody here tonight for public comment?
Yes, first on the list is Greg Hugler.
Greg, can you come down, state your name and address for the record, please?
Hey, how are y'all doing today?
All right, how are you?
Excellent, thank you. My name is Greg Hugler. I operate a business at 22982 Sussex Highway here in Seaford. And I am here today to speak on the zoning for the recreational cannabis dispensaries. So I run Fresh Delaware out here in Seaford. Couple things I just wanted to touch on that the council might be concerned about, possibly the mayor's office and the public as well. I'd like to start off by saying, you know, when I took over this company, I had over 450 applicants that had applied to work at our dispensary. Obviously, we did not need 450 people, but we'd like to think that that shows the interest and the desire for this to move forward here in the town. Since we have opened in February of this year, we've hired all retired state troopers as armed guards for us while we're at our facility. We have DEA cages, roll-down windows, state-of-the-art security systems, motion sensors, heat sensors, everything like that to make sure that our products are secured and unable to be accessed by anybody that does not have a medical card. Moving forward onto some possible public concerns with going recreational here in the state. A lot of people may be concerned about the odor from the cannabis that's emanating from our establishment. All of our products are vacuum sealed prior to arriving at our facility, so there's no smell, there's nothing like that that's happening. Parking and traffic, we have a very large parking lot in our establishment. We've had no issues with traffic in and out of the facility since we've started. We are prioritizing medical patients. We have over 4,000 square feet, which is drastically more than we needed for a medical facility. We did that with the foresight that recreational and adult use cannabis was coming down. We focus on the customer experience. We've invested a significant amount of capital into the build out of this to create a retail experience that is kind of similar to an Apple store if you walk into an Apple store, as opposed to thinking you're going into some pot shop in Colorado. We wanted it to be a professional, clean and comfortable environment that's safe for patients to access their medicine. Since we've started as a company in Newark nearly 5 years ago, we have not had one infraction with the health department as far as violations for what's transpired with cannabis. And again, our big focus is on hiring locals here. You know, we all know that our area is severely underserved and could use some help. With the adult use bill, 15% tax is going to be going to the state of Delaware. 7% of that tax is going to be going into a program that is almost like a diversion program that helps prevent repeat offenders and people that have had issues with this from going through this situation again. We are committed to hiring a significant amount of additional staff when it comes to recreational sales, simply because of the volume that we're going to have. Since we've opened in February, and since it got made recreational, we've had plenty of people come in and try to purchase cannabis from us recreationally. Obviously, we can't sell it to them yet because the legislation's not in place. Currently, we have seen a drastic drop-off in the amount of patients that we've had ever since Maryland has gone recreational and allowed adult use. I'd say it's about a 10 to 15% decrease in foot traffic in our establishment, simply because people can drive down there and pick up items as well. So we'd like to ask that as we go forward with this, you hear our information, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. All right?
Okay.
Thank you so
very
much.
Appreciate it. Okay, do we have anybody else here for public comment?
Roxanne Knight.
Ms. Knight?
Hello, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
How are you guys today? I'm just here again today on behalf of the Bel Air community. I know that you guys have some upcoming things, and I just want you guys to keep in mind our parking situation, our green space situation, and our ponds at this time. They are a concern to us because they're very dirty, and we also have the ingress and egress congestion that's occurring. And I just like for you guys to consider our upcoming meeting and hope that you attend it in our concerns for our Bel Air community that's growing.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anyone else here for public comment?
We have Jay Dolby.
Thank you, Mr. Dolby. We'll be hearing from you later, I'm sure.
Andrew Dolby.
Nope. They're just signing in present, okay? Is there anyone else? Okay, with that, we'll go ahead and close our regular meeting and open up our public hearing, and I'll turn it over to our building official, Mr. Mike Bailey.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So tonight we have 3 items on the public hearing agenda. The first one is for Mr. Jay Dolby. He's the property owner of 22347 Sussex Highway, tax map and parcel 431-4.00-24.00. He's requesting a preliminary site plan review for a proposed 169 lot subdivision. And this is on behalf of D.R. Horton, they're the developer that's looking to purchase it from him. So this is the rough area. It's ag land right now out there off of Old Furnace Road. Duke's Lumber's there to the left-hand side of that, so it's to the limits of the city of Seaford currently. And we do have the site plan. It's kind of hard to see. It's hard to fit all of that on one slide, but it's a 51-acre parcel currently that they are going to subdivide off of the main farm, and then they'll looking to rezone that 51 acres from R1 to R2. That'll be shown on their next submission. And then that 51 acres will be further subdivided into the 169 single-family home lots with the interior roads and utility improvements and stormwater. The proposed lots there in the 169 lots do meet the lot requirements for R2, which shows the minimum lot size of 4,500 square feet and a minimum lot width of 35 feet. And this does coincide with another project on the north side of Old Furnace Road where they're already working through that plan as well with the water, sewer, and electric extensions out there, so it'll all tie in together.
Okay, are there any questions from council? Councilman King?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mike, my question is around, if we can we pull that slide back up, is it possible? I just had some questions around the traffic flow and the size of the roads. You know, I think a little bit of Muirfield and some of the congestion, you got people parking out on both sides of the road, and then there were some problems at one point trying to get emergency vehicles into that location. So can you talk a little bit about what that looks like on this project? Is that gonna be an issue with the size?
And we've addressed that to them in a comment back during our plan review, that these roads are at the minimum lot or width that required. So they have some things to figure out, either widen the roads or restrict parking on the roads.
Okay. Other questions from council? Councilman Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you, like, show me where the 51 acres would be changed from R1 to R2?
So this is the roughly that straight line heading directly across the field there is more of a curve coming around the back of where the red roofs are. But all that frontage along 13 will be commercial. It already is commercial. It's all one parcel, but it's split zoned. C2 commercial in the back is currently R1, but they're proposing to rezone that to R2 on their final plan submission. And we looked at this earlier this year where they had to realign that zoning line to fit with this plan because it was weird the way it was drawn.
I'm a little bit confused because it says that they're going to change from R1 to R2, and you're talking about commercial properties.
There is a commercial portion on the frontage of the Sussex Highway that is not part of this plan.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that'll remain,
All right.
once they subdivide this 51 acres off. Yeah.
So the blue outline is the 51 acres?
Roughly, yes. Yeah, best I could outline it on Google Maps.
Okay, thank you.
The pie shape west of that is what you're talking about, the commercial
Yeah,
piece.
yeah, where those little red
To the left.
roof buildings are all along Route 13 there, across from Duke's Lumber. Yeah.
Okay, other questions from council? Are there any questions from the public? Okay, Mr. Bailey.
So moving on to item number 2, this is for Delmarvin Teen Challenge Incorporated. They are the owners of Sussex Avenue lots, tax map and parcel 531-13.09-76 and parcel 78. They're requesting a rezoning from M1 light industrial to R1 low density residential. So again, this is a aerial shot here of the land that they're looking at. To the left-hand side there is zoned R1 residential home lots. And these 2 parcels that are there are zoned M1, but the remainder of that to the right, where the warehouse is a commercial zoned property. Part of it I think is still M1, but it's a kind of weird area there. So they've identified these vacant areas here, put them up for sale, so they have a plan to build some residential, sell them and have some residential homes built on them. So this is the survey that we got showing it, and I highlighted the areas there that are looking to be rezoned from M1 to R1 in blue. And part of the rezoning, we have to update our comprehensive plan, and that includes these map amendments. So the yellow map there on the left is the future land use map, and the gray squares on the top map are the M1, and then just below that is the proposed map, just changing that to yellow for residential. And then we'll also have to update the zoning map. So the yellow squares on that one are the M1, and then the one below that, just changing that to blue for R1. And see the rest of that there is the commercial industrial zone that will remain.
Okay, questions from council? Councilman Henderson?
What's the process, assuming this gets approved, what's the process for having a commercial building on a piece of R1 land?
On the next slide there, they are also proposing to reduce that lot down to a residential zone lot and convey that lands to remain on the commercially zoned portion, where the warehouse is.
So they would have to reapply to rezone it again?
No, because it's that larger parcel on the bottom of that map is one large parcel. So the next agenda item, is to take that parcel and shrink it down to a residential 75-foot wide R1 sized parcel, and the commercial parcel will absorb that.
Okay, how wide is the top parcel, the easternmost parcel?
I think I have those numbers on the next one. It's an existing parcel. It's there already.
Maybe I'm jumping the gun, but I'm a little bit confused as how the council could vote to take those parcels to R1 and then turn around and subdivide a parcel. Would you not then have to rezone that piece of property to commercial if we approve?
Or it would be non-conforming.
So if the mayor doesn't mind, could we maybe just go ahead and look at the next, to clear
And
this
then-
up?
And if it doesn't clear it up, then we'll
Yeah.
come back.
Is that,
Yeah.
just to set your mind at ease? as
I
to-
just,
Yep, good question.
about the process,
Right.
So we're just moving on.
Jump to the next one and see if
Okay.
we don't answer the questions.
Okay, so public hearing item number 3 is, again, Delmarva Teen Challenge Incorporated, owners of Sussex Avenue lots, tax map and parcel 531-13.09-76 and parcel 78. They're requesting a lot line adjustment to the referenced parcels. So again, this is the same picture there showing the outline of the parcels. And maybe this will clear it up a little bit, showing that the larger parcel is really the only one getting changed in size. The light blue portion is what will remain the commercial zone, and they're gonna make the parcel the dark size, 75 foot wide by however deep it already is, and it meets the square footage number for the.
So at the end of the day, there'll be 2 residential lots at the far northern side of the property.
Yeah, so they're rezoning just the 2 existing parcels that are there, and then shrinking the larger one down to a residential lot, and the remainder will be absorbed by the commercial parcel that's already existing, and the numbers
sense.
are here.
Okay. I mean, maybe go back to the way the map
if I
is.
could, you haven't asked for questions, but if I could,
Sure.
I'm going to suggest that it's backwards. That you ought to be, without changing the zoning, redrawing the map and then making those 2 parcels residential. Because then you don't have to have a non-conforming lot, or you don't have to go back and rezone.
You're gonna do this all tonight.
I understand.
It's all concurrently.
Yeah, it's happening concurrently.
We couldn't resize that parcel with it zoned to M1 because it wouldn't be the right.
But you have
Yeah.
a non-conforming lot that's not shown now, go back. That pale blue lot is going to be R1. And you have a commercial building on the footprint.
It's,
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
that becomes commercial.
yeah, it's all happens
When it gets
at the
recorded.
same time, yeah.
Yeah, if this gets approved, as I understand it, and all the lot line adjustments occur and the rezoning occurs, can you advance one more time? What'll be recorded at Sussex County is that piece of commercial and those 2 pieces of R1 residential. Did I state that correctly, Michael?
Correct.
There's a lot of gyrations here. I understand the process. But at the end of the day, that's what gets recorded, and that's what the council's doing
Yeah,
is
so
a rezoning.
long as we don't get embroiled in some legal, that piece of property is not in the hinterlands, because for however long, it's going to be non-conforming for the 5 minutes. It's going to be non-conforming.
Yes, sir.
And then
Right.
Yeah. And
some nefarious actor could
Pounce on those 5 minutes.
pounce on those 5 minutes.
just for the record, Mike, and maybe to help, the owner has requested this subdivision, this lot line adjustment, and this rezoning, correct?
Correct, and he has a contract for sale on it to Mr. Brad Kaufman, who's here.
So those properties haven't been conveyed. It's a stipulation of sale.
That is my understanding, yes, sir. So there's no one withstanding, in my estimation, that would be harmed, that
Okay.
would,
I'm just
no, it's a good point.
being cautious.
Councilman King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mike, can we go back to the actual photograph of the property, please? Okay. So the lot that we're converting over is currently commercial, is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay. So,
Oh, it's M1 industrial,
M1
actually, yeah.
industrial,
It's
right.
weird, it's a weird
Okay.
deal how,
right, so there's no cleanup or anything No
No, they
soil
were-
sampling or anything that needs to be done to that property before it's turned into a residential piece of property from a light industrial?
So I'll try to answer that in this way. The way Delaware law is, we've purchased property as the city. It is up to the purchaser to do a Phase 1 environmental site assessment. And then if the Phase 1 environmental site assessment flags something, then the decision is made, do we go to a Phase 2, which is actual physical soil sampling. Phase 1 is a record search, basically. So that is between the buyer and the seller in this case. We know of, I don't want to speak for the building official, but we don't know this as a Superfund site or any pre-existing contamination that we're aware of.
Well, I just didn't want anything to fall back
It's a
on
good
the
question.
city because it's zoned currently light industrial, and then we're making a decision to take that light industrial property and convert it into a residential property. And so I guess my question would be, around the logistics on that. Could any of that, if they sell that property and say somebody buys it to build a house, hypothetically, and there's something wrong with the soil, does that come back on the city?
Yeah, so maybe to answer your question, if someone contaminated a property, my understanding of federal and state law is you own that contamination from cradle to grave. So you are liable. If you don't disclose that, so on and so forth. That's been our experience when we've purchased property. The mayor did make an interesting point, going to the vice mayor's point. For whatever oddball reason, this was a non-conforming use kind of to begin with. So in reality, what we're doing, taking somewhat advantage of the purchaser and the seller, we're cleaning it up to make it kind of match what's going to be out there now.
Correct.
And one interesting point, not that anyone asked or anything, but there currently is this dividing line between residential and this industrial commercial. So we don't do a lot of that anymore. We don't zone like that. This is just a very historic legacy site that for whatever reason was zoned that way, by our forefathers. So,
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Councilman Holland?
Do you know the plans for the property, what they're planning on making it, or?
Single-family homes.
Just
yeah,
single family?
Yeah, Brad
All right. I
Kaufman's
know
has
for
been
like a
building
group
several.
home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a nice product that he puts out. Yeah. And just to go over the lot sizes, so the minimum lot size for an R1 is 7,500 square feet with a minimum lot width of 75 feet. The current lot there, it's just the one on the bottom, is 180 foot wide and 26,828 square feet, and they're proposing to shrink that down to 75 foot wide and 11,278 square feet. And the remainder of that parcel will be 15,550 square feet conveyed to parcel 77, which is the warehouse parcel.
Okay, are there any more questions from council?
One more?
One more.
So, I don't see any language in here that says that particular square that would be the lot line adjustment would go to commercial. It's gonna stay M1.
That piece of it is M1. The only commercial piece, I'll go back to the picture, is the old service station out there on the corner.
Okay.
It's
all
a
right.
very strange.
So we're
Very
not,
strange.
we're
Very
not
strange
seeing,
I'm not, yeah, I didn't show
we're
the,
not seeing the delineation on the other side.
right, it's one,
okay.
that parcel 77 or whatever the one is on the end there is all one parcel, but it has multiple zonings.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? Any questions from the public? Okay, we'll go ahead and close our public hearing and reopen our regular meeting at 7:24. Mr. Bailey?
Jump back up to public hearing number 1. The project is a D.R. Horton preliminary site plan. The owner is A.J. Dolby trustee. The property is located off of Old Furnace Road. It is tax map and parcel 331-4.00-24.00. The current zoning is R1 low-density residential, and 51 acres is to be subdivided from the main Dolby parcel, and they will eventually rezone that 51 acres from R1 to R2, and then they'll re-subdivide that 51 acres into 169 single-family home lots, And the proposed new lots do meet the R2 requirements for lot size, 4,500 square foot minimum and a minimum width of 35. Planning and zoning did make a favorable recommendation for approval to council at their October 12th meeting.
Okay, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the request of A. J. Dolby, property owner of 222347 Sussex Highway, tax map and parcel 331-4.00-24.00, comma, 24.01 for preliminary site plan approval for a proposed 169 lot subdivision as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Councilman McCoy seconds. Are there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Holland?
Based on findings of facts, yes.
Thank you. Councilman McCoy?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman King?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Henderson?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
And Councilman Bradley?
Yes, based on findings and facts.
Thank you.
So moving on to public hearing number 2. The project is a teen challenge rezoning. The owner is Delmarva Teen Challenge Incorporated. Property is located on Sussex Avenue and Hickory Lane. Tax map and parcels is 531-13.09-78 and 531-13.09-76. The current zoning is M1 light industrial, and they're proposing to rezone to R1 low density residential. We will update the comprehensive plan, future land use map, and the zoning map. And planning and zoning made a favorable recommendation for approval to council October 12th.
Okay, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the request of Delmarva Teen Challenge Incorporated, owner of Sussex Avenue, lots, tax map parcel 531-13.09-76.00 and 78.00 to rezone the lots from M1 light industrial to R1 low density residential as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Henderson. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on the motion? If not, again, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Henderson?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Okay, Councilman Bradley?
Yes, based on findings and facts.
Councilman Holland?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman McCoy?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
And Councilman King?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Okay, thank you.
So for public hearing item number 3, the project is the Teen Challenge lot line adjustment. Owners are Delmarva Teen Challenge Incorporated. Property is located on Hickory Lane. Tax map and parcel is 531-13.09-76.00. The current zoning is M1 light industrial. The proposed zoning is R1 low density residential. The proposed adjusted lot does meet the requirements for R1. The minimum lot size there is 7,500 square foot with a minimum lot width of 75 feet. The current lot size is 180 foot wide and 26,828 square feet. They're proposing to reduce that to 75 foot wide and 11,278 square feet. And the remainder of parcel 76, which is 15,550 square feet, will be conveyed to parcel 77. Planning and zoning also made a favorable recommendation for approval to council October 12th.
Okay, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Bradley, I make a motion to approve the request of Delmarva Teen Challenge, Inc., owner of Sussex Avenue lots, tax map and parcel number 531-13.09-76 and 78 for a lot line adjustment to the reference parcels as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Bradley. Is there a second?
Councilman King, I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Bradley?
Yes, based on findings and facts.
Councilman Henderson?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Holland?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman McCoy?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
And Councilman King?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Congratulations. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Congratulations, Dolby family. You have persevered. Congratulations. Okay, new business number 1, we're going to ask Mr. Herrera to come up and give us an update on the Nylon Capital Shopping Center, where we are today and where we're headed.
Thank you, Council, for inviting me here today. As promised, we've committed to giving you regular updates, and this is part of that update. Unfortunately, there's a few announcements that I'm going to hold off on, so I'll have to do another. I think I'll be up here again soon to make a couple big announcements with key anchor tenants. But with that being said, let's dive right into it. Flip to the next slide. I just wanted to share this image. Back one. This image we found in archives as I've been doing more research on the site. I think it's really cool to see this. I think it's circa 1950s, maybe a little later than that. But anyway, really exciting to see the active. We want to bring the activity back to the site. If you want to click through, these are aerials we just had commissioned just to get a feel for roofs and just the general site. We're also starting a marketing campaign. If you guys saw the news, we selected, after talking with several real estate brokers, NAI Coastal out of Salisbury. They had a lot of local connections. They showed strong, and we went through a dozen or so people before we landed on them. So we're excited to make that announcement. And we just now started marketing the retail space. So this, if we could pause here for a second, I just want to hit some of the key dates. I know everybody's antsy on this, as am I. I assure you that I'm trying to move as quickly as I possibly can. We're done our survey field work and our scanning and our base map prep. A lot of major civil works taking place. We've commissioned and completed our TOA traffic analysis. That is now in the hands of DelDOT. The architectural schematic plan development is completed as well. We're at a pause period between schematic design and design development as we're waiting for our anchor tenants to sign their leases, and then we can dive right into it. And we should move quickly from there. Our design teams are at the ready. We've also begun remediation. That started this month, earlier this month, probably a little earlier than 10:15 I'm showing. And we've also removed 8 tanks throughout, 6 of the 8 tanks throughout the site. There's 2 challenging tanks that are proving difficult, but those sort of things are ongoing. We're nearly complete. I think I have some images of that here shortly. The big date coming up is we're submitting to the city our first plan submission, which will come from Becker Morgan Group here shortly. I believe we've been in communication with Charles and their team.
Yes.
That'll be our first initial concept plan that gets the ball rolling here. 11-9, Select Final Construction Management Company. So this is another big, we've gone out and we did a public RFP for a construction management team that'll really get things rocking here. We have gotten most of the submissions back. We're reviewing them now. We have interviews end of next week, and we expect to make a selection 11-9-2023. And I expect things to get really exciting from there. So in early January, we're going to be submitting the full demolition permit. That's going to include, and by the end of January, too, site demo as well. So that will really pick up steam at that point in time. We'll probably be doing some interior demo between now and then. We've already started pulling ceilings out so we can scan some of the structure. And then full renovations are really begin in March of '24. That's when we're really going to get going. Again, part of the holdup there, things like the mill, we might even expedite a little bit faster than that, but we're waiting on the leases to come back before we really could commit to a date. And then 4/21/24 is full, the heavy site work, including a lot of the DelDOT work, we plan to begin in April. And then 5/15/2025 is our project closer. That's our new target goal, to have everything complete on site. And I think it's pretty reasonable that we'll get there, given our current schedule. And this is buy-in from our consultants and everybody else. I just wanted to give that update. I know everybody's been antsy to get us moving, and we're antsy to get moving as well.
Well, I know you have more slides, but I got to tell you, I've been throwing dates out there like,
I know.
I'm crazy on the
And
dates.
I have too.
And so now you have them typewritten, everybody can see what you project, and I really appreciate that. I've told everybody, every date I give you, please add 3 to 6 months to, because I'm excited to get started.
And I'm guilty as well, right? Where I've wanted to go out there to hammer myself to get this thing going. But no, we're making a lot of progress, and a lot of the long lead time things that you don't see have taken place now. A lot of that, like the remediation stuff, you don't really see the big cranes just yet, but that'll start here soon, I promise. All right, if you want to keep moving to the next slides. Again, we talked about the remediation, some of the holes. We've started tarping and closing up the building, getting prepped for major demo. If you want to keep clicking through. I mentioned the oil tanks. There's some proof of them. They're pretty monstrous. All that was just 2 weeks ago I took that photo. General site plan, I want to provide a most recent site plan. I think the last one I presented was 2 or 3 months ago. We've had a couple exciting updates from anchor tenants. So if you could pause on this slide for a minute. Creating that boulevard, which was always part of our plan, which we showed renderings of previously. The retail, we're now doing a new interesting, we had mentioned beer gardens, but if you see their greenery in and out around the retail, we're going to keep some of the existing structure there. I should have brought a pen. That you can actually drive through, which is pretty exciting. Retail and Dollar Tree will stay on the left side. We have very interesting two interesting anchor tenants that are entertaining that space again. I will hopefully have that announcement here shortly. Rite Aid is to remain, even despite some of the troubles everybody's read in Rite Aid. We had a call last Friday with all landlords throughout the United States on the call, and we were not on the list of locations to be shut down. So that was great news. Again, that's all we know to date. That was just this past Friday. This is another, oh, can you go back one? Sorry. Dell Tech is now one of the more interesting updates, taking 2 floors, and they're going to be north of 30,000 square feet, and they're expanding some programming. That was an exciting development. The mill is full steam ahead. We've commissioned construction docs. We're getting ready to really dive into that, and I expect we're going to expedite that build just to show some progress, since it's in the back corner of the site and won't be disturbed by all the other site work that's going on. Montessori is in progress. Bright Bloom has signed a lease, and we're starting to expedite their fit outs as well. The healthcare tenant, interesting update. We're very close. I'm excited to announce them here soon. I'm waiting on their approvals to announce who they are, but they just requested 9,000 more square feet than what we were originally intending, which is all good news. Just adds a little bit of time, but all really good news. One thing I want to mention now, in that center courtyard green area, we have some really interesting community amenities. I really mean it when I say we look at our website, 9sdc.com/Nylon Capital Shopping Center. One of the highest ranking requests was for a pickleball court. I remember the very first night that I came to present. I wish I could remember her name, but a woman stood up here with a poster board.
Teresa.
Nanaco Fence.
Yes.
Yeah, and she had a poster board saying, "I really want to do pickleball," and I admittedly didn't understand what that was, and I thought it was endearing. But with all the feedback, I want everybody to know we really look at this website and we really take it to heart. We're really trying to work with you as City Council and with the community, and we've reacted to that. And I started calling around, how much is it to build a pickleball court? Like, can we do this? So there'll be outdoor pickleball courts. I know it's better to be indoor, but we're planning on building those right now, as you can see to the right behind the retail. We also have some bocce ball courts and horseshoe pits, which is fun community aspects I think the mill will build off of. And then we have 2 future pad sites right next to them in hopes that those sort of amenities will help attract either retailers or another anchor institution to that site. So that's the big update on the site plan. This is pretty much locked. This is what is going to be submitted, so this is getting pretty close to locked in. Any changes from here will be very minor. If you want to click to the slides now. We've got some updated renderings that entertain that structure in the middle that, again, kind of slowed down some of the demo. I wanted to take a crane and blow through that middle, but our architect had a great idea to save some of the structure, save some of the bones and the skeleton of what's there, and create these really interesting beer gardens and interesting dining areas that are indoor and outdoor. We have a really exciting tenant on the retail side, again, that I'll be able to announce within days. That's really excited for the outdoor space that are going to leverage that. If you want to click through, we want to use standing seam metal around the front, wood soffits underneath to repurpose some of these, and glowing sort of cow wall on the side that'll glow. And then you can see some of the structure going down the middle. And this is all designed from Digsall Architects. I've been really happy working with them. Becker Morgan Group's done the civil engineering. They've been phenomenal to work with. And I want to mention ground control. We've brought in a landscape architect who's starting to reconcept all these interiors, along with designing the pickleball courts. They had all the details for that, which was important, and the pricing, so we could get context around it. If you want to click to the next slide, this is sort of a night view. And our hope is to build the back half first. We've already started talking about phasing. Then move to the retail piece in hopes that that'll bring enough excitement that we'll keep leasing up the retail in front. We've got a lot of interest. I want people to know that and our brokers have reached out and we have a long list. It's not no, but a lot of people were holding on until we can sort of sort out the final floor plan, until we give them a final yes or no on potential local tenants that we've talked to. If you want to keep clicking through, it's the mill building, which I'm really excited about. We're cutting a courtyard into what used to be the grocery store. Again, wasn't my idea. I consider myself a pretty creative guy, and my architects caught me off guard and pitched this idea to me, and they're really excited to repurpose this building. I didn't see it at first, but now I'm getting really excited about the interior courtyard piece. You want to keep clicking? Click one more time. And then that's this sort of aerial that we'll end on. All right. That's it. And then just one thing I'll leave you guys with, 9sdc.com/Nylon Capital Shopping Center. We do actually look at that feedback. Any questions for me while I'm up here? Is that part?
Are there any questions from the council? Yes, sir.
The last time you were here, you spoke about the bowling and going through different possibilities. Have you had any advanced talks there, or how's that looking?
We have. We've spoken with 5 bowling operators.
Okay.
We haven't made a decision on one yet. We really want this to go well. Not to say any of them I think they've all been great, and they all have different aspects that they're really good at. We've gone really far with an operator out of Salisbury, had experience all over Delmarva Peninsula, and we're still in back and forth there. But that's still a little ways off. We have not made a decision yet.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Other questions from Councilman
Thank
King?
you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. It's very exciting. I know last time you were here, you talked a little bit about outdoor entertainment, and I saw the courtyard and how it's going pickleball, horseshoes, that type of thing. Can you talk a little bit more? Is that outside entertainment, and is that still part of the plan?
Yeah, in terms of, I forgot what I mentioned, but we
It
have.
seemed like you had some walkable space, like some areas for people to kind of like walk around and exercise, and then you talked about a venue. Maybe, I don't know if that was kind of changing up on an area that was designated.
Can you go back to the site plan? I'll show you. We do have an outdoor sort of amphitheater planned. If you go back, right there. So pickleball court's on the right side. If you look on the left side and how that whole area is planted, it's kind of our central green where Deltec and Montessori and the healthcare tenant will be around. We have a screen planned that'll be built in for that specific thing. We don't have a programmer yet. I'm personally involved with a nonprofit theater that has projecting capabilities, though I'm on the board of. But we could talk with them, but I don't have a plan for that yet. It's just a cool kind of outdoor theater that we're planning. Sure. Right. I think it'd be multi-purpose, and the city could even use it as needed. Sure. That's the hope.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Other questions from council? Rob, again, can't thank you enough for coming forward. I think what we want to establish with our public, Seaford unfortunately gets a sense that if they don't hear anything, they immediately start to think this project has fallen through. Yeah. And you being here presenting a timeline certainly helps. I know you referred to the architect as someone here locally that helped design Dogfish and the restaurant down in Rehoboth, what a lot of us are familiar with. So they do things at a level that we're not used to, the cool factor and how this project, this shopping center is just going to change radically, and I think is really going to impact the attitudes and the personal, how Seaford feels about itself again. I'm excited for that impact. I'm excited for January. I will speak for all of Seaford. If you need help with sledgehammers, I guarantee you, everybody in this room would come out. Tricia Newcomer's got her hard hat on already, ready to go. But we are so excited to see this get started. I think once that starts, it'll really be fun. And you and I'm fortunate that you and I get to talk a lot. So I'm glad these guys are here to hear this tonight. So thank you for coming down tonight and sharing what you have. We appreciate it. We look forward to the next update.
At the next update, we'll schedule the groundbreaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Rob.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Who is doing number 2? I will. All right, new business number 2, our city manager is going to take us through this.
Okay, so council has in their packet a request from Mr. Jeff Stevenson to claim an unused right-of-way in front of 811 Perkins Street, which is a property that he owns. Mr. Stevenson is here with us tonight, so I'm going to ask him if he wouldn't mind coming up and If I miss any of the presentation, Mr. Stevenson, or if council has any questions, I'm sure you can probably answer those questions.
Good evening, Mayor,
Good evening.
City Council.
Good evening. So in your package, you have a copy of the tax maps. It does show there, highlighted and clouded, the portion of this paper street, this right-of-way that Mr. Stevenson is interested in claiming. And Mr. Stevenson has, over the last several months to a year or so, purchased all of the properties that you see there bounded by the school district, Pond Street and Perkins Street. So he has a lot of skin in the game. We've had several meetings with him about some of his plans. They're starting to take shape. He plans on redeveloping the area. I also did, when I received the request from Mr. Stevenson, we did send this out to our Director of Public Works, our Director of Electric, and our building official, just to check with them to make sure there were no utilities in there or they had no use for this property at any point in the future. The response I got back, and we did include the emails, got back from them. They had a few questions, but both of them stated they had no use for it. Mr. Stevenson is here to request council's consideration for his opportunity to potentially quit claim this property if there are no objections from council. Is there anything I forgot, Mr. Stevenson?
No, you were very thorough.
Okay.
Very
Thank
good.
you, sir.
Council, are there any questions? Councilman King?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have a better understanding. First of all, thanks for your investment into our community. Can we pull the chart up? Is it possible, the diagram of the property? So is this currently one piece of property, like where the alley is running between it, or is that two different parcels?
So,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead, Mr. Stevenson.
That's actually two different parcels. I think,
It's hard for you to see
yeah,
from that.
because you actually have a public paper road that runs along, but it doesn't seem to be, yes it is, it's represented on the left. So you will come in, I guess, off of Perkins Street and then turn down, but what I propose to do, right now, there's three parcels going across with that pink slice going between two. So on the bottom half of that, you do have two parcels with the one being up top. What I'm trying to do is incorporate, I guess, the paper road into the middle one, which would bring it out to about 4,500 square foot. Right now, it's 3,600 square foot with a burnt house on it.
Sure. But do you own both of those parcels on both sides of this road?
Yes.
Oh, so you own both. So it's not a problem of someone saying, hey, I use that to get in or out of my property?
Yes, I
So
will be
you-
having conversation with myself.
Okay, perfect. Good.
So just to maybe clear it up for
Well,
council.
I didn't want to vote to give away right away if you got a neighbor that uses that, if that makes sense, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's a good point.
That's a
All
good
right.
one.
Just to
I
clear it
appreciate
up for Councilman King, on the depiction, you see the number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14,
Yeah.
15, 16, 17.
Yep.
Those are lot numbers. Mr. Stevenson does own all those aforementioned lot numbers.
Okay.
So, as he stated, his intention at some point in the future is to potentially combine all or portions of this right-of-way with parcel 12 or 13. And, you know, he has enough land there to re-subdivide.
Yes.
The zoning is R3. I neglected to mention that. So he has the ability to build single-family units, duplexes, multifamily units. So he's looking at all his options at this point. Is that a fair statement, Mr. Stevenson?
Yes, based on the economic climate.
Okay, other questions from council? Okay, if there are no other questions, then I'll accept the motion. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the request of Jeff Stevenson to claim an unused right-of-way in front of 811 Perkins Street as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
I have a question
Yes, sir.
on the motion. It's not immediately clear, but I want to make sure that Mr. Stevenson is going to assume all the financial responsibility for doing all this.
Yeah, I should have stated that. Yeah, I recommend council require Mr. Stevenson to pay for the closing costs, the quitclaim deed. We obviously will have our attorney review it, but if he wants this property at no cost to him, he should take the lead on doing all that. Thank you.
Thank you
And
for
that should be
clearing that up.
updated in the motion.
I agree, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Is that acceptable to you, Mr. Stevenson?
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions on this motion? Okay,
Second was I apologize.
Matt McCoy.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, we'll do a roll call vote. Do we want to,
Does it have to be added?
let's
into the motion?
restate the motion
Restate the
for the
motion,
record, if we don't mind. Would you want to, does someone want to restate that motion to include all fees associated with transferring this land to Mr. Stevenson?
I'll restate.
Okay,
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the request of Jeff Stevenson to claim all responsibility to the property, to use the unused right-of-way that is his responsibility in front of 811 Perkins Street as presented. Is that
so that's
clear enough?
cover all costs. Yes, so we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman McCoy seconds. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote on this one. Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Bradley?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. All right, next we'll call up Chief Marshal Kraft to go over the change in candidate referral policy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, city manager.
Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, Chief.
Thank you for having me here tonight. I believe last year we made a proposal that was recommended and approved by council. However, we're back tonight to make an amendment and a request. In the old policy for the incentive bonus, it was a payment of $250 to be paid if an employee recommends a person for an open position that's hired after they complete their 6 months of probation. And it was capped at no more than 2 incentive bonuses paid in a 12-month period. Tonight, I'd like to recommend that we increase that from $250 to $500. Also, that we have no cap, like the police department has currently multiple positions. And we've had several recommendations, and we have 2 employees. One's currently graduated, and one's in the academy now. And the other would be to have an exception for the police department. Right now, every city employee, if there's a referral and they complete a 6-month probationary period, they would get paid that incentive bonus. But police officers attend a 6-month police academy, and then they have a 6-month probationary period. There are other agencies that are currently paying their bonuses upon completion of the graduation of the police academy. So the other part is to approve that exception. So if they successfully complete the police academy, that they, individual employee, if they're still employed, would get that incentive bonus as well.
Okay. All right, are there any questions to these changes to the candidate referral policy for the chief? If
I
not,
got one, Mr. Mayor.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kraft, after they accept this policy, this bonus, now, do they have to stay on a number of period of years, like 1 year, 2 year? No?
No,
No guarantee?
this is open for any city employee to recommend another person from
Okay.
any department, not just the police department. It could be wastewater, it could
Okay.
be electric. This is across the board.
Across the board.
Yeah, so any employee would get that $500 bonus after a 6-month completion of a probationary period. The only exception would be if they, right now, if they were to get an incentive bonus, they'd have to wait a year to get paid for the police officer versus 6 months for any other position within the city. So that's the only reason that we made that recommendation.
But we don't claw it back if the
No,
person
sir.
leaves us the
Oh,
day
okay,
after,
right.
the day after they complete probation,
Yeah,
or the
all
day
right.
after they get the check.
Yeah.
There's no provision in here to claw that money back from the employees.
Okay.
So can one person recommend multiple people?
So,
Yes.
so
Like
by
10
this.
people, 15 people?
Absolutely.
Okay, wow, that's
Yeah, but
big
we don't
money.
have that many open positions.
I mean,
Right now, we have
you
one
recommend the
pending.
sale of a car, I think you get 50, right? So if you send
Yeah.
somebody there to buy a car, you only get $50. $500, that's a good incentive.
Employees are a hot commodity.
Oh,
right
yeah,
now.
that's good.
Well, and one of the conversations the chief and I have had about this policy, it's a great policy. We've gotten it out to our employees. I do think this changes the dynamic of the way our employees talk to prospective employees. So, if in this climate, specifically with police officers and young people for any job, if we can bring them in, this is a very small price to pay for a recruiting effort or anything like that. So I commend the chief
I think
for,
it's a great idea.
bringing this revision forward and pushing it forward.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there are no further questions, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the recommendation of Chief of Police Marshall Kraft to revise the employee incentive pay, successful candidate referral policy to increase monetary value of incentive as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Henderson. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Councilman King seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous,
Thank you very
Chief.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, next we're going to invite Director Merritt to review the Live Where You Work program.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So you have in front of you a new policy. It's called Live Where You Work. And just to give a little bit of background, this policy kind of came out of planning session, and Councilman Henderson actually kind of took his idea and we kind of massaged it a little bit. So, but part of this also kind of plays in with what the chief was saying with the incentive policy for recommending employees. It's getting more and more difficult. You hear it all the time with all the different companies, different businesses trying to find people to hire and having difficulty. So we feel that part of the purpose of this policy is that mayor and council, management, we all believe that building a stronger, more connected community by promoting home ownership and encouraging our employees to live closer to their jobs. That's an important aspect, and that employees that live where they work, that we believe that it creates buy-in from the employees personally and professionally, and because they're invested in the future of the city, for whatever position that they might be in. So that's really kind of the purpose of the policy. And some of the things that we looked at when we wrote the policy, we just established some guidelines. The employee would receive an annual payment by residing in the corporate city limits for a preceding year, so for 12 months. If for some reason they moved in mid-year, we would do a pro rata share. They wouldn't maybe get the full amount, but they would get a partial. The other thing is that the employee would have to provide some sort of documentation to show that they reside in city limits, whether that be a utility bill, could be a rental agreement, could be settlement papers, something of that nature, just so that there's that we do have documentation. They're not just giving an address saying I live here. So there's a form that they would have to fill out. We're looking at possibly recommending that this become effective January 1st, 24. We currently have, out of about 90 full-time employees, we have about 10 that actually live in city limits. Out of that number, out of the whole number, the 85 to 90, there's probably 40 to 50 that actually live in the surrounding Seaford community, but there's only 10 that are actually in corporate limits. So, but anyway, part of the policy, we were looking at starting it out at, we were recommending about $750 per year. But that would also be dependent upon budget. So during the budget process, we would make sure that, we have that funded.
Okay. All right, are there any questions for Director Merritt regarding this new policy? Yes, sir.
Does that include council members?
The way the policy is written, it does not, but if that's what you would like to do.
that would be a big no. Big no on that for election. You give where you work, right? That's where it works. So,
Exactly.
any other questions from council?
Good question.
If not, accept the motion. Thank you, Director Merritt.
I would like to make a motion to approve the recommendation of June Merritt, Director of Finance and Human Resources, and approve the Live Where You Work program policy with a monetary value of $750, and the first annual payment to be made on January the 1st, 2024, as a non-budgeted expense as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Bradley. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Okay, are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, okay, it's unanimous. Thank you so much. Again, our planning sessions do add value. This idea has been brought up for several years, and it's been, like you said, massaged. And so I'm glad we didn't give up on the idea. We do want to encourage our employees to live in town. So thank you so much for staying
Well,
there.
I'll just state, it was Vice Mayor Henderson that did not give up on this idea, so he and I had a few conversations, and I appreciate his leadership on this.
Good job, Councilman Henderson. Well done. All right, next we have the first reading of the prohibited uses. Mr. Bell, how are you?
Hello again.
Hello.
So this is just the first reading for the amendment to Chapter 15. And it's going to be amended by adding Section 15-29B and 15-40B, which both read the same. 29 is the C1 General Commercial District and C2 is the Highway Commercial District. And both are adding a prohibited uses section in the respective zones there, which reads as any use which is not authorized by right shall be prohibited in a C2 or C1 district, including but not limited to the following: marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, marijuana testing facilities, and retail marijuana stores. And medical marijuana facilities shall be permitted, because you have to have a prescription in there. You just can't walk in off the street. It's more regulated. So both sections read identical to that.
So, Mr. Bailey, just for the record and for the public's edification, a couple years ago, the city did run a zoning ordinance change to ban these same things in the C3 zoning district.
Correct.
And then, obviously, it is not permitted in any other zoning district of the city of Seaford.
No.
That
no,
is correct.
There's no retail or anything.
So, in effect, this is a citywide ban on this use.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Are there questions from council? Yes, sir.
If someone already had a facility of this nature already up and running, are they grandfathered in?
So no one has a recreational marijuana facility. The state law, as we understand it currently, is they approved medical a couple years ago. We do have one that's in the Seaford Village Shopping Center. The General Assembly did recently approve recreational, but they have issued no license for them.
Okay.
They are still developing their policies, regulations. They're standing up a oversight board to regulate them.
10-4?
So just to kind of reiterate what Councilman McCoy said, so that the medical aspect of it is still be able to function within the city.
Yes, sir.
It's just,
Yeah.
this is just
Just for the
the
recreational retail.
recreational aspect of it.
Correct.
Right, not the
So,
medical.
as an example, if we have an existing medical marijuana facility, they would not be allowed to expand into recreational.
Right. Now, this council years ago took this act just in a general area, right?
Yes, sir.
Before the other towns. Now there are multiple towns passing this pretty rapidly throughout our county and our state. So this is not something we're leading the way on. We were a part of
Is
it.
it possible, one other question? And I know the gentleman that was here tonight and kind of talking about it, I guess he's the owner operator of the facility that we have here in Seaford. He referenced the fact of how much tax revenue that was being generated, but from my understanding, that's at a state level. So the municipalities aren't getting any of that, right? So I just want to be clear, so if this was to pass, all of the additional dollars in revenue that it would generate would benefit the state, but not necessarily the city that it's operating in.
You are correct, and the vice mayor and the mayor and myself, we did request of our legislators that the municipalities be permitted the ability to tax like the hotel motel tax. The understanding that I have is this law has been stood up to mirror the alcohol taxes, and you stated it correctly, it does go to the state, not to any municipality.
So if there was a drain or additional resource that's needed in a situation that something was to pass, so in reality, I mean, the city could bear quite a bit of additional expense?
I mean, I don't know. We don't have any of these facilities in the city. Obviously, there's been they've talked about parking issues, things of that nature. I can't answer that question.
All right, thank you.
Other questions? Councilman Henderson?
I know that this is a first reading, and I know that we're going to schedule a public hearing, but this does give me a little bit of heartburn. Marijuana has been legalized for recreational use by the state of Delaware. However, it remains a Schedule I material on the federal level. It's still illegal on the federal level. I'm not really. I would like to see us mirror the federal and adhere to federal regulations before we go and do a zoning ordinance and just observe the federal mandates. The other thing is that the state has not clearly vetted out this, in my opinion. If by a board of adjustment or any other thing, if someone was to open a liquor store or a liquor dispensary, it would have to be vetted that they weren't any closer than 500 or 1,000 feet to a school or to a church, or you would have to have letters of no objection from the neighbors. Right. You can buy cigarettes in any commercial district without impunity. Correct. So I'm not, and I know that there will be a public hearing and this is a first reading, but I just don't think it's all been worked out. You know, supposing a medical facility wants to open up or a manufacturing facility, if there is such a thing that could be conforming in a C1 zone, we wouldn't be able to bring those jobs.
So let me just make this statement. We recently did a revision to our M1 zoning in the Western Sussex Business Campus that permits exactly what you're talking about. We could accommodate a grow facility, I'll call it, manufacturing facility in the Western Sussex Business Campus. Council did that. I'll defer to the director of, about a year ago.
I understand that, and doesn't mention M1 anywhere in this.
It does not.
So you have C2 and C1.
Yep.
General commercial, so there might be some other, like, it says testing facility or some other employment opportunity that would otherwise not be available. Even maybe it is a medical facility. Maybe it's not recreational facility. It just bans all facilities. So I think that it should be, I'm going to vote for a public hearing, but I'm not, I just don't think it's all been worked out yet.
And Councilman, we agree with that. We don't have a lot of guidance down from the state of Delaware yet. One of the things related to this, and you and I have had this conversation at a high level, this zoning ordinance is a living document and can be changed when guidance comes down. If council feels more comfortable with it or some aspect of it, the building official can certainly do that research, prepare that code change. One of the issues, though, I'm fearful of is if we don't do something, we could have these propagate in our community where we do not want them. If we allow this state law to be implemented, maybe some of the federal regulations will get ironed out as well. Just a suggestion, does council desire to have our city solicitor come to the public hearing and discuss this prior to the public hearing, these legal aspects of that for an expert opinion?
Well, sure, but what I would like to see instead of a carte blanche ban is something that mirrors the ABC laws. You can't put it next to a church, you can't put it next to a school.
But if it's federally illegal, then I don't understand.
right.
I'm just saying, so if the federal government says that it's illegal, I don't know how we would mirror the federal government in a situation where
you're
it's
absolutely
saying
correct.
it is. I'm just trying to get
You're
clarity on how
absolutely
how we would mirror something that they're very steadfast in the fact that they haven't legalized it at a federal level.
That's imminent.
Right.
The administration, the federal administration is working on descheduling cannabis right now.
Right.
So, I think we have to be forward-looking. But if something is legal in the law, and it's the law of the land, what are we doing prohibiting it? Because we're controlling everything else.
Well, I
We're
think,
controlling tobacco, we're controlling alcohol.
I think there was a strong push that most people did not feel this law was a good law for people. I don't think anybody argued that it was a good law, that it was a great revenue-making law, and that was that other states around us were doing it, so we need to capture the money. I don't think anybody argued this was great. Most of us were brought up on marijuana was a gateway drug. And I think even in this bill, there's money set aside to help people get back off of it, which is a statement, in my opinion, a statement of itself that we have a problem trying to get money on something we know is going to create a problem. Do we really want that in our community? I don't think we want that in our community. I've not heard anybody has approached me saying, I'm so excited about this new law to recreate with marijuana. It's not something talked with families around the dinner table. I just don't think it's what we want in our community.
I guess we'll see at the public hearing.
I guess and if you don't mind, just a question kind of statement. So if people are buying it illegally in Seaford, right, which they are, I mean, we have a drug problem. Having an area that is regulated, right, that's legal, I mean, is that a pro or a con? I'm just saying, can you turn a bad situation, right, if you've got street level dealers, and there's a situation where somebody can go to the food line, buy a pack of bananas or a bunch of bananas. I mean, that's probably not a good terminology, but here's a situation that is regulated, it's controlled, it's packaged correctly, it's not laced with fentanyl or any of that crazy stuff. Is it a situation that if they're going to do it, is it better to go somewhere and buy it that is legal than buy it off the corner? And I'm not saying anybody has to answer that. I'm just throwing it out there for thought.
Well, again, this is a first reading. We will have, if we move forward, we will have a public hearing on this, and there'll be more public discussion on this before a second reading. So I appreciate this. This is certainly going to be lively. We tend to always go down the lively path. So if there are no other questions or comments, I'll accept a motion.
There's no motion. Oh, I'm sorry, there is. I apologize. Yes.
Okay.
I yield.
I'll make the motion to set the public hearing date for the proposed zoning amendments to section 15-29, prohibited uses, and section 15-40, prohibited uses that would ban marijuana cultivation facilities, marijuana product manufacturing facilities, testing facilities, and retail marijuana stores from the C1 General Commercial and C2 Highway Commercial Districts in the city of Seaford as of November 28th, 2023 at 7:05 p.m.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on this one. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote on this. Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Bradley?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll get the public hearing set for that date. Thank you so much for bringing this forward. Okay, next we have the, this is for the September 11th primary. Yes, way ahead, way ahead
A little
of the
bit ahead.
curve on this one. Good
Yeah,
job.
our city clerk did receive notification from the Department of Elections about the city of Seaford City Hall being a polling place next year. So in your package, you have resolution number R2-2023. That is a resolution to hold a regular council meeting, the regular council meeting on Wednesday, September 11th, 2024, to accommodate the state primary election on September 10th, 2024. This is something similar council did last election season so that the council meeting did not interfere with elections. It seemed to work pretty well. So we've been requested to do the same thing. If this resolution is adopted, we will schedule accordingly, and we will hold that council meeting on September 11th.
September 11th does not cause any problems.
It's an auspicious date. I do not know of any issues for that to hold a council meeting, unless there's a personal concern that any of the council people might have.
Okay, are there any questions on this change of a meeting date, September 2024? If not, I'll accept the motion.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Councilman King, I'll make a motion to approve the City of Seaford Resolution R2-2023, authorizing the regular council meeting to be moved to Wednesday, September 11th, 2024, to accommodate the state primary election to be held on Tuesday, September the 10th, 2024, as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Council King. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Councilman Coy seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Old business.
Okay, we have none, sir.
Okay, meetings.
Okay, so we have a few this month. Sussex County Today and Tomorrow Conference, October 26th, at Delaware Technical and Community College, Jack F. Owens campus. It's all day this year, 8:30 to 4 p.m. Tricia Newcomer, Director of Economic Development and Community Relations, will be the acting city manager from October 28th through November 5th. Halloween parade is tomorrow night, October 25th. The lineup is at 6:15 on Cedar Avenue and High Street, and step-off is at 7. Citywide Halloween trick-or-treating will be held Tuesday, October 31st from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. for children 12 years and under, and the Veterans Day ceremony is Saturday, November 11th at 11 in Kiwanis Park. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, and reminder that trick or treat is rain or shine.
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right. We'll start with our committee reports. Code, Parks and Rec, Councilman Bradley.
Mr. Mayor, City Manager Anderson, fellow councilmen, city employees, and guests. I'll start out with Parks and Recs. Spoke with Katie this morning. I'm glad she's back and had a safe trip. Things are winding down with the fall with tree trimming and sprinkler prep for the upcoming winter season. The final Friday Night Live occurred on the 20th. Bittersweet, because that is taken off, and I commend everyone involved in its success. Trunk and Treat was at the Ross Mansion on 10/22. Flag football and youth soccer is wrapping up. Moving on to code enforcement. Met with Mike this morning. So far this year, there have been 330 building permits. Rental inspections are complete for 2023. Muirfield is up to 23 permits. The Western Sussex Business Campus building on Lot 1 has started. Steel is in the air. Okay, 3 things personally, as you all anxiously await. First of all, after last week's meeting, I will keep my levity to a little more of a minimum fashion. 6:10 yesterday morning while walking Scout, the light turned green and I could hear the approaching car back by the church speeding up, and it probably clocked 50 miles an hour at my front yard. But he made the light. Just wanted to let you know. This week, and this is how I'm going to end this, I was pleasantly surprised by something which you will see when you leave. Across the street at the parking lot, it is totally illuminated with LED lights. And there has been a reduction in activity over there, which I'm pleased to see. So bravo for them in making our area a little more secure. Respectfully submitted, Mike Bradley.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Police and Fire, Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 complete reports from the chiefs of the fire department and the police department, so I'll proceed with summaries. Under fire statistics, there's been a total of 829 calls for an average of 2.9 calls per day. October calls are 32 calls for an average of 3.4 calls per day. EMS, there's been a total of 3,167 calls for an average of 11.2 per day, and 78 calls for October for an average of 8.6 calls. In other statistics, there have been 462 in-city calls and 262 out-of-city calls with 81 assists. In EMS, there's been 1,860 in-city calls and 1,099 out-of-city, along with 130 assists. Under significant incidents, you'll see that a lot of those are mutual aid. There were 2 in-city calls, one at Meadowwood Court for a fire in an air conditioning unit and one at Clementine Court for a cooking fire. The other 3 were mutual aid calls out of the city in other districts. You'll see a chart for fuel usage for September there. You'll see the training schedule. The last training was Delaware State Fire School Water Rescue. Rescue 1, it was Block 2. It was a continued training where 12 members attended. This was at Station 71, Blades. They also did the low-angle rescue and Stokes basket at Station 87, which I think I mentioned at the last meeting. Pardon me. The next training is scheduled, belay that. That's already taken place. So you'll see a chart there of total hours served and total hours in training along the different subheadings, and you'll see this a significant, almost just short of 2,000 total hours of training year to date. In emergency medical services, ambulance B87 is scheduled for general maintenance. The ALS and BLS leadership meeting was with Sussex County EMS was held on September 26th. Going to move on. Under fire prevention, you will, this is just a snippet of all of the activities that were engaged in fire prevention. You'll see it, all the members and all the numbers of people that they have reached out to. It's been a very busy October for fire prevention, and one of the busiest in recent memory. There's during the liaison meeting, I think the chief attributed it to an increased social media presence by the fire department and outreach, and a little bit of, for lack of a better word, they've gone viral, you know, where they advertise that they've been to a certain place and then others say, hey, come see us. So they've been really, really busy in their outreach for that, and they're, I think the next target is to try and work with the high school to generate some recruitment opportunities there. So. There's something, I think I have the wrong report in this.
Mine is last time's, but.
Yeah, it's not the right one. So, no, if you'll bear with me. I'm giving you old information. That's the same report. We have a.
We all know the
I
same.
believe I'm repeating myself. So
I do it all the time, so don't worry about it.
I have incorrect information, and I will make sure that the correct report gets sent out to all of you. I apologize. I knew I was repeating myself.
No worries.
That concludes my report again.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, well, yeah, this is what was supposed to be presented in the, this is a
my
video,
goodness.
in-car camera video of a previous call, just to show you what the dangers are that our police officers face. This, as you can see, was on October 12th. Can it go live? Can you run it? So this illustrates the dangers that your fellow.
Sorry, get him, get him, get him, get him. Go, 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 go. Suspect 918.
So that just illustrates to you, just on a normal, this was a normal traffic stop. It turned out that the driver was under the influence, and they did apprehend. And she was charged with multiple charges. But had the driver of the other car been on the other side, or in between, or if she had collided with the cruiser, they could have all been pinned behind the car. So it just illustrates the dangers, just routine dangers that our officers face. So just be mindful and be respectful of the dangers that they incur.
I appreciate you bringing that forward, because sometimes we do forget. It's just not simple traffic stops anymore. So thank you. Next, Administration IT, Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A meeting was held with the lighting designer for the budget proposal for the Arthur House project. They attended Team Challenge building dedication, and they met with representatives from the Goodwill regarding a potential location, and they attended various other events and meetings, and all the work is routine. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Electric, Councilman McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since the last report, the crew set a new pole on Pennsylvania Avenue to feed a new house. Tyler Sewell completed week 6 of 8 in his lineman training. And regarding our director, he had his standard director's meeting, staff meeting, and council liaison meeting. They also worked on the estimated estimation for Muirfield 1, Phase 4. They also attended the SCAT meeting. Regarding the upcoming weeks, they're going to continue working in Bel Air single-family residence section, continue working in Muirfield 1, Phase 3, and continue changing the lights on Sussex Highway to LED. Mr. Mayor, that's been my report. It's been submitted in its entirety.
Thank you, sir. And finally, we have wastewater treatment, Public Works, Councilman King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start with the Public Works Department. The Seaford Village Lift Station project is underway and in the bypass mode. Seaford Volunteer Fire Department generator replacement project is underway. The emergency sewer main repair on Stein Highway was due to a collapse. Fire hydrant replacements were done on Nanticoke Avenue and State Street. Catch basins cleanouts continue, and a valve was cut in to help service the nylon capital units. They performed pump tests at all North Ross lift stations. Over to the wastewater treatment facility, plant is running well. TS is slightly elevated, and dewatering is performing well. The team installed a new polymer mixer at the compost. And RAPA finished the draft permit, and they met with GMB to discuss primary rates. Some of the projects coming up over the next few weeks: installing new water services on Shipley. Work continues on fire hydrant replacement. As always, keep the plant up and running. With that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report.
I still want to thank Public Works for working with the contractor to get the drain fixed on Allen Boulevard and Locust. That was a flooding problem, and the pictures of that root-filled drain was pretty amazing. Those guys had a pretty big mess. And do want to congratulate Representative Short for bringing home the Scrapple Sling Trophy first place. He's a champion again. So I was a solid second there, city manager, solid second. Second loser, yeah. So,
Disappointing.
okay, with that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion from Councilman McCoy, second. Second?
I second the motion.
Councilman Bradley, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, thank you. Good night.